What if the brightest smile hides the deepest scars? In a shocking revelation, Jang Dong-gun, Hyun Bin's closest friend, has come forward to unveil the silent pain, hidden tears, and long-buried family struggles of one of Korea's most beloved stars. What has Hyun Bin been hiding behind the glamour and fame all these years? Let's uncover the truth together, only here, with Hidden Korea. What if the brightest smiles hide the deepest scars? That question has echoed across South Korea and beyond since beloved actor Jang Dong-gun, the confident and closest friend of Hallyu superstar Hyun Bin, finally broke his silence. In a rare and deeply emotional interview, Jang offered a candid look behind the curtain of glitz and fame, into a world of pain, suppressed emotions, quiet resilience of a man loved by millions. Hyun Bin, known for his magnetic charm and powerful performances in dramas like Crash Landing on You and Secret Garden, has always maintained an air of quiet strength. Calm, respectful, and composed, he seemed untouched by scandal or sorrow. But beneath that calm exterior, according to Jang Dong-gun, lies a man who has endured far more than the public ever imagined. People only see the success, they don't see what it cost him. Jang begins, his voice tinged with sadness. There were nights when Hyun Bin wouldn't say a word, but you could feel his heart screaming. Jang and Hyun Bin's friendship spans over 15 years. They met during a film event in Seoul, and despite their nearly 10-year age difference, a bond quickly formed. What started as mutual admiration between two professionals turned into a brotherhood cemented by trust, honesty, and shared solitude in the chaotic world of Korean showbiz. We would often meet late at night, not to drink or party, but just to walk. Jang recalls, there were so many times when I felt like he needed to say something, but didn't. Those silences, Jang claims, were more telling than any words. Behind the stoic face was a man carrying the weight of a fractured family and the scars of an emotionally distant upbringing. He once told me, "I feel like I'm performing even when the cameras are off," apostrophe that stuck with me. The turning point in Jang's decision to speak out came during the global success of Crash Landing on You. Everyone was talking about how happy and successful he looked, but I knew the battles he was fighting in private. He said he would get calls from family members that left him in tears, and then go out to film a romantic scene as if nothing happened. Jang described Hyun Bin's family situation as deeply complicated. While he refrained from going into explicit detail out of respect, he did reveal that Hyun Bin often felt the burden of being the emotional pillar in a family that didn't always offer him the same support in return. There was always this sense that he had to be strong, for his mother, for his image, for his fans. Who was there for him? Jang asked. According to Jang, Hyun Bin's stoicism was learned behavior, a survival mechanism from years of emotional suppression. He wasn't raised to talk about feelings. In fact, I think he was taught the opposite, to endure, to succeed, and to stay silent. Their friendship became an unspoken safe space. Jang describes long walks where neither spoke, both understood. When you've been through pain, you recognize it in others, and I saw it in him early on. Jang also shared the impact of Hyun Bin's military service, a time often romanticized in the media. He thought he would find peace in the military, structure, purpose, escape. But he returned with even more silence. That's when I noticed the shift. The shift was not negative in the career sense. Hyun Bin came back stronger, with more depth in his performances. But personally, Jang sensed the man increasingly isolated, started talking less, smiling less, but working more. Like he put every ounce of himself into his characters because he didn't know how to be himself anymore. Jang described moments of rare vulnerability. It was one night when we were sitting on the rooftop of my place. He had just finished a grueling filming schedule. We were drinking quietly, and he suddenly asked, "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" That was the first time I truly saw the crack. He adds, he's not someone who cries easily, but that night, he did, just once. He said nothing, just tears. That was enough. Jang's decision to speak out now is not about sympathy. It's about truth, and perhaps healing. I think people need to understand that strength isn't the absence of pain. Hyun Bin is strong, not because he doesn't suffer, but because he endures without letting the world see. When asked if Hyun Bin knows about this interview, Jang replied with a quiet nod. I told him. I said, it's time, apostrophe. He didn't object. He just said, tell it honestly, and Jang did. With raw clarity and compassion. Any fans around the globe, Hyun Bin is the epitome of the perfect leading man. His characters are always composed. Demeanor gentle, his gaze intense yet warm. In part 2 of Jang Dong-gun's emotional revelations, we step deeper into the shadows, into the hidden chapters of Hyun Bin's personal life, shaped by familial burdens and a complex emotional world far removed from the spotlight. Jang Dong-gun begins this part of the interview by discussing the influence of Hyun Bin's early family dynamics. From a young age, he was expected to be the responsible one. Jang shares, his family wasn't broken in the traditional sense, but the emotional distance was profound. They didn't talk about feelings. Everything was surface level. Appearances mattered more than connection. That emotional distance created an environment where Hyun Bin learned to internalize everything. He became his own counselor, his own motivator, his own comforter, Jang said. But no one can live like that forever without some cracks appearing. As a child, Hyun Bin excelled academically and was known for his discipline. He rarely got into trouble. Jang notes it was a form of self-preservation. Kept himself so tightly controlled because he didn't feel safe being vulnerable. Hyun Bin's decision to enter acting surprised his family. While they supported him publicly, a sense of conditional approval. It was like, okay, you're successful now, so we're proud. But before that, it was all skepticism, Jang explained. He told me that nothing he did felt like it was ever enough for them. This need to prove himself drove Hyun Bin to perfectionism. On set, he's known for being meticulous, detail-oriented, and sometimes overly self-critical. He could nail a scene in one take, but asked to do it 5 more times because he didn't feel it was authentic enough. Jang shared, it wasn't about the director, about his own standards, and the invisible audience he carried with him. That invisible audience, according to Jang, included family members who were emotionally absent but loomed large in Hyun Bin's mind. Every performance was a message, see me, understand me. And yet, he rarely got that response. Jang also revealed that Hyun Bin often struggled with feelings of loneliness, even at the height of his popularity. Be in a room full of people, fans screaming his name, and still feel utterly alone. The emotional toll of maintaining a pristine public image became heavier over time. There were moments when Hyun Bin questioned everything, even his purpose as an actor. He once asked me, what if none of this is real? What if I'm just a shell? Jang said, despite the pain, Hyun Bin found moments of healing, mostly through his craft. Acting became both an escape and a mirror. Certain roles helped him confront his own truths. When he played tortured or emotionally complex characters, he wasn't just acting, he was processing. Jang believes that one of the reasons Hyun Bin resonated so deeply with audiences in roles like Jang Hyuk, Crash Landing on You, or Kim Joo-won, Secret Garden, is because he brought real emotion to those performances. Weren't fictional tears, that was real hurt channeled through a role. Adds, that's why audiences feel something when they watch him. He's not pretending, he's bleeding on screen. In recent years, Hyun Bin has begun to find more balance. His marriage to actress Sun Ye-jin has brought visible light into his life. She understands him, Jang said simply. Not just the actor, but the man. The broken parts too. Even so, the scars remain. Healing doesn't mean forgetting, Jang notes. It means acknowledging and continuing despite the pain. Jang ends the second part of the interview with a message to Hyun Bin's fans. Love him not just for the roles he plays, but for the strength it took to play them. Every smile you see from him now is hard-earned. It comes from someone who has cried silently, fought battles alone, and still stood tall. Hyun Bin's journey is one of quiet endurance, emotional depth, and the bittersweet beauty of resilience. Pain does not define him, but it has undeniably shaped the extraordinary man behind the super